Thank you all for being here. We're going to get started since I want to keep us to schedule. There's plenty of things to talk to you about today. My name is Megan Collins. I'm the program manager for the Matsui Center here at ITS, which is where we are in the building. My colleagues are with me today, as well as some student alumni, and there are also more alumni in the audience. So you'll get the opportunity to hear from staff, as well as from peers who went through this program in a previous cycle. Before we get started, I'm going to pass it off to my co-worker, Ezra, who will introduce himself and welcome us into this phase with some additional thoughts.
All right. Hi, everybody. What's up? It's good to see so many faces in here. This is really beautiful. Really exciting. I want to take a moment first to ground us, ground this experience. And I want to start first with reading a prepared land acknowledgement. I think it's important that we start there because we recognize that being at an institution like this that is very prestigious, very rigorous, but can also be at times exclusive, means that all of the beautiful faces that we see here might not always feel like they belong. And as the Institute of Governmental Studies, we believe it's especially important to create space for people that look like us, come from the backgrounds that we do. A land acknowledgement is never enough, but it is a start. So, before we begin this event, IGS recognizes that UC Berkeley sits on the territory of the Huichin, the ancestral and unceded land of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone. The successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Alameda County. This land was and continues to be of great importance to the Muwekma Ohlone tribe, I apologize if I mispronounced that, and other familiar descendants of the Verona Band. We recognize that every member of the Berkeley community has and continues to benefit from the use and occupation of this land since the institution's founding in 1860. Consistent with our values of community, inclusion, and diversity, we have a responsibility to acknowledge and make visible the new university's relationship to Native people. As members of the Berkeley community, it is vitally important that we not only recognize the history of the land on which we stand, but also we recognize that the Muwekma Ohlone people are alive and flourishing members of the Berkeley and broader Bay Area communities today. Again, I reiterate that it's just a start. We are right next to a building that is dedicated to the uplift and the recognition of the efforts, the community, and the needs of Native peoples in this country. And so we encourage you all to reflect on how the system impacts you, how you are engaging with it, and find your own ways to connect. I apologize, I did not show the slide while I was reading. The reason why we want to take a moment to start there is not just because of the institutional responsibility that UC Berkeley has, but also of IGS's commitment to community. And we felt it would be remiss, it would be inappropriate for us to start this experience that is focused so vitally on students and on student opportunities without acknowledging the loss of one of our own community. Last week, we found out that Christian Jared Aleman, a beloved member of our community, but also many communities on this campus, passed away. He is missed by many. He was a Hope Scholar. He was part of NavCal. He was our 2023 Democracy Camp in Berkeley, one of our 2023 Democracy Camp in Berkeley Fellows. He was a bright and warm light, inviting anyone that felt they needed comfort or needed community in a space. He connected easily, he laughed easily, and he's deeply, deeply missed. So we just want to take a moment of silence for him at this time. we recognize that you might not have known Christian personally. You might not have engaged with him, but his presence is felt in this room because he believed so deeply in changing the community. If at any point during this session you find yourself impacted, you find yourself struggling, we encourage you to find community. I will be here floating in the background if you want to speak. Any of our staff is here to connect you with resources on campus if you feel the need to talk. And recognize that this session is being recorded so that for those who couldn't attend or those that find themselves unable to continue, that these resources are still available to you. It's important that we start there because, like I said, IGS is about community, but it's also about access. It's also about seeing public service as more than just a place for the privileged to make decisions at your detriment. It is a place for seeing public service as a passion, as a joy, as a way to find purpose. And you don't need to be a poli-sci major or a sociology major to engage in positive change for your community. And so I just want to encourage you to hold that in mind, that even as we are speaking on loss, we recognize that the more than the fight goes on, the joy continues. We continue to commune and connect with one another because we believe so deeply as a staff and as a culture in helping others. And more importantly than anything else, we're about helping bright students like yourselves to find ways, to find access, to find community, and find opportunity to do what you care and love most to do. So at this time, I'm going to call our other coworker, the Executive Director, Christine Trost, who I believe is a huge, huge asset and the reason why we're home.
Ezra, I think that we're all been very impacted by the loss of Christian, but to have incredible students and to have incredible co-workers and to build a beautiful community to support each other means everything. And that's really, as you said, and Ezra, that's what we're all about. And I was supposed to do like an introduction of IGS and our mission, so but I think you actually just demonstrated it. So I'm not sure what more I can add, but I'll just say a few things about IGS and the Matsui Center and how they fit together. So IGS was founded over 100 years ago to be a resource to the state legislature. That's how it got started. And over time, it's evolved to be many other things, including the largest social science research unit institute on the West Coast that's dedicated to California politics and public policy, as well as we have a national focus as well. So we support research here, we support student development, we have a poll where we kind of tap into the issues that are impacting our communities across the state and try to use that to leverage change. The Matsui Center is under the umbrella of IGS, and that's where these two programs that you're going to hear about today are nested. The Matsui Center was founded in 2008 to honor the legacy and the impact of Congressman Robert T. Matsui, who was a Cal alum and a member of Congress for over 25 years, and who distinguished himself not only by the impactful public policy that he worked to pass that was focused on addressing social inequities, but also because of his bipartisan approach and his dedication to public service. And so those are kind of the themes that we wrap the Matsui Center in. We're nonpartisan, and we're dedicated to public service. And in particular, our mission is to nurture and train and prepare and support and open doors for and create pathways into for students who are interested in being change makers and getting into spaces of power and privilege, as Ezra said, in order to make a difference for their communities, for the state, for the nation. And so you're going to hear about 2 programs today. We have 2 more tomorrow, so we invite you to come back and hear about those as well. These programs, Cal-in-Sac and Schaeffer Fellows, they're different programs. You'll hear about how they're different, but they share the common theme of providing students with mentorship, training, professional development, skill building, and opportunities to get experience that can then help them discern their pathway forward. And that may be working in government, it may be working alongside government, it may be working in a community organization. All of those things are good, all of those things are needed. But our goal here is to support you and to guide you and to provide you with resources and opportunities to go where you want to go and make the change that you want to change. And one last thing that Ezra said, he mentioned access. That is an absolute commitment here at IGS, at the Matsui Center. We've worked really hard, especially over the last few years, to establish fellowships and other forms of funding so that all students, regardless of their economic status, have an opportunity to participate and thrive in the programs that we offer. So with that, I'll hand it back to Nathan. But it's great to see all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Ezra. I am so incredibly fortunate to work with you and with all of the students in our programs. Just to set some expectations, the next 20, 25 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about the nuts and bolts of these programs, what they are, what the benefits of being in those programs are, what the eligibility requirements are, talk to you a little bit about what's in the application. If you have questions at the during this portion, I'd ask you to hold them till the end of me presenting, and then I'm happy to answer questions, particularly about sort of the logistical side and the application and things like that. We'll be very fortunate in the latter portion of this session to be joined by alumni and peers who've been through these programs. So if you have questions about what is it like to be in this program, what is it like to do an internship in Sacramento or in DC or somewhere else, those will be great questions for our panelists later on. Okay, so I'm going to start by talking about Cal-in-Sacramento. We have 2 public service internship programs here at the Matsui Center. One is Cal-in-Sacramento, which has been around for about 50 years. It has a long history here on campus. Many of our alumni have gone on to careers in public service and are scattered around the state and the country. Our other program is called the Schaeffer Fellowship, or the Leonard D. Schaeffer Fellows of Government Service Program. I'm going to start with Cal-in-Sac and then talk about Schaeffer, and we can talk later on about the differences between those 2 programs. So Cal-in-Sac is a 7-month spring and summer fellowship program that is designed to train California's next generation of public service leaders. Fellows in this program develop critical skills and engage thoughtfully with key policy issues through coursework, research, and a summer internship. So those are the 3 pillars that make up this program. And I want to highlight this new public service program. So internships can be in any public service field in Sacramento, whether that's a government office or a nonprofit or a think tank. Eligibility, just to start there, Cal-in-Sac is open to all majors and all years, including freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors who will graduate in May 2024. So if you're a senior about to graduate in May, you are still eligible to participate in this program, as well as all transfer students. Students are required to enroll in a 3-unit course as part of this program, Poli-Sci 110B, during the spring semester and complete all course requirements as outlined in the syllabus. I want to note for anyone who's poli-sci major, this is an elective course. It does not count towards poli-sci major requirements. This is a fully in-person program, and 2024 fellows must be enrolled at UC Berkeley in spring 2024 and participate in the course. So again, there's these 3 pillars: the coursework, PS 110B, the internship in the summer, and the research project. So I'm going to talk about each of those in order. PS 110B is, again, a 3-unit course. The objectives of the course are to introduce you to California policymaking, government, and key policy issues in the state, as well as to provide you with research skills and research training and professional development. Coming into this program, again, this is open to all majors. There's not an expectation that you necessarily have taken a poli-sci course if you don't need to, though you can have. But we provide that introduction, and this is all geared towards preparing you for your summer internship. This program is extremely hands-on. So again, when I say professional development, a lot of that is geared towards preparing you for your internship and helping you apply to your internship offices. During the spring, I work with you. We do resume workshops, we do interview workshops, and I provide a list of partners in Sacramento who are looking for a Cal-in-Sac intern. So you'll apply during the spring semester, and then in the summer, the whole cohort moves to Sacramento for 8 weeks to live in shared housing that we provide, which is one of the big benefits of this program, to complete an 8-week public service internship in any number of public service offices, government, nonprofit, advocacy organizations, legal field, research, think tank environments, journalism, etc. And I provide robust support in securing an internship. Some examples of recent internships, this is just a few, there are more, include the California Research Bureau, which is part of the California State Library, California Energy Commission, the Office of California State Senator Melissa Capado, the Office of U.S. Congresswoman Doris Matsui in her district office in Sacramento, and a number of other ones. And I want to again highlight here that there are government entities and there are non-government entities because it's public service broadly. In terms of the timeline, this is really a rehash of what I just said. You apply in the spring semester as part of the coursework, get lots of support in that process, including taking a field trip to Sacramento to interview in person in March. In late May, the whole cohort moves to Sacramento and starts their internships. You get free shared housing, transit pass, and a living stipend to supplement so that not only do you have housing, but you have some disposable income as well to pay for life in Sacramento. And you complete your internship during that period of time and move out in late July. The third pillar of this program is the research project. All Cal-in-Sac Fellows develop a original research project and a research question, and then that happens during the spring semester. In the summer, while you're in Sacramento, you complete your research project. So you conduct research, whether that's doing qualitative interviews, working with data, whatever it is that you pursue with your research, and you develop a research product, which could be a research brief, an op-ed, a blog post, which will be published on a scholarship. As I said, all fellows do a research project. When you submit your application, you have the option to submit a supplemental essay. It's all part of the same application that makes you a candidate for one of our research fellowships. Fellows who get a research fellowship, and there are 4 of them, there's a specific thematic element. So, for example, the Joe Freeman Women in Politics Fellowship is granted to students who are conducting research on an issue focused on women in politics, including research on public policies that affect women. So that's an example of one of these thematic lenses. There is additional funding that comes with these fellowships. Christine works very hard, as she said, to get as much money into the hands of students as possible, and she's working on getting even more. So this is a great opportunity. If you are particularly interested in one of these research areas, apply. There's no reason not to apply. It's additional funding. In the case of the Diversity and Entrepreneurship Fellow, there's also a mentorship component. And I just really encourage everyone to seek out one of these opportunities, which again is embedded within the Cal-in-Sac application. So to review, if you are a Cal-in-Sac Fellow, you complete coursework focused on California politics and policymaking. You get research training in the class and conduct an original research project over the summer. You get professional development training with me and with people who are working in the field who come and speak to our class. You gain hands-on experience in a public service field through your summer internship in Sacramento. You receive funding and housing to support an 8-week residency in Sacramento as a cohort. And you join a community of supportive, service-minded peers, which, as Ezra so beautifully highlighted, it is a really, really important aspect of all of our programs, and is really designed to support you not only during your your internship and your academic career, but even beyond graduation. So again, I'm thinking I'm gonna hold questions till the end. Is there any? Yeah, I'm gonna hold questions to the end. I'm gonna keep going. Okay. So that was all Cal-in-Sac. Now we have the Schaeffer Fellowship, which is our other public service internship program. The Leonard D. Schaeffer Fellows in Government Service Program is a national program with 5 partnering institutions, of which UC Berkeley is one. So in addition to our office, there's also partners at Harvard, Princeton, UVA, and USC. Schaeffer Fellows complete 10-week high-level summer internships at the local, state, and federal levels of government in order to develop an informed view of government service and operations. So again, to highlight, while Cal-in-Sac is public service broadly and it includes the non-government sector, the Schaeffer Fellowship is specifically government internships. Schaeffer Fellows don't receive housing, but they do receive a substantial living stipend of $500 for the summer, which is intended to support relocation costs and cost of housing. Eligibility, again, to start us off. This program is open to registered UC Berkeley students with sophomore or junior standing, including first-year transfer students. Seniors who have at least one semester left of full-time undergraduate coursework after their summer internship are also eligible. So if you are going to graduate in December 2024, you would also be eligible for this program. Freshmen are not eligible. But again, first-year transfer students are. Students from all academic fields are encouraged to apply, and it all hinges on your ability to independently secure a government internship for the summer, working full-time, which is defined as 30 to 40 hours a week for 10 weeks. Unlike the Cal-in-Sac program, the Schaeffer Fellowship is a bit more hands-off, so you are independently during the winter and the spring looking for internship opportunities, applying, doing all of that work to secure an internship. So it is a part of the requirements that you secure that internship for the summer that meets those requirements in order to be eligible for the fellowship. A little bit more about the internship again. During this winter and spring, this coming winter and spring, you'd be notified in late November, early December if you were admitted to the program, and you could already be applying or you could start applying then for your summer internship. We do offer resume reviews, one-on-one consultations with me and with Christine, and I also provide a letter of participation that describes the fellowship and the qualities we look for in our fellows that can also be submitted with applications. So those are some of the supports we offer, but again, it is very different than Cal-in-Sac in terms of the level of support. And again, internships can be at any level of government, local, state, or federal, and can be located anywhere in the United States. You are responsible for getting yourself there, but you can go anywhere in the country as long as you get an internship. This is a lot of the same information. I will say that we ask ideally students plan their placements and secure that summer internship by April, because again, we partner with this national organization and that is a deadline, but we work with you. We're going to make sure you have an internship. Over the summer, you complete your 10-week full-time government internship. You also meet with a mentor, which is another pillar of the program, as well as travel to Washington, D.C., all expenses paid, for the Schaeffer Summit, which I'll talk more about in a moment. Some examples of recent locations, and again, students find these on their own, so they're all over the place. There are some in California, there are some in D.C., there's some in New York, or really anywhere in the country is eligible. And the common thread here is every single one of these offices is a government office. So in addition to the internship experience and the funding that comes with this fellowship, there are some other program benefits that I want to touch on. During the summer, fellows are paired by our office with an alumni mentor. You meet with that mentor a handful of times over the summer and reflect on the internship experience and discuss future career goals. That is one of the major benefits of this program, is to, if you're not already seeking out mentorship, it's a really great way to get started in that process. All Schaeffer Fellows gain access to a virtual program. It's an online community, essentially, so you can use it to find other Schaeffer Fellows that have gone to the program in the past, all around the country, where they're working now, as well as finding out about events. I will tell you, I was organizing an alumni event in DC a few months ago, and I used this online platform to seek out folks who had gone through this particular program from Berkeley and were now living and working in DC. So it is very useful, and it's you're a part of that community once you book this fellowship. Each fellow receives full funding to attend the Schaeffer Summit in late June in Washington, D.C. The 3-day summit is designed to enhance the internship experience and support career preparation through additional professional development sessions and workshops and public service leadership lessons. Attendees build relationships with fellows from all the other participating programs, as well as engage with prominent leaders and program alumni. I had the chance to go to this event last year, and it was really fantastic. You can ask our panelists more about that when it's time for them to speak. So again, that review of program benefits, you get hands-on experience in government through your summer internship. You develop your network and network with folks from all around the country. You can access professional development tools that are going to be there for you long after the program ends. You receive funding to support the cost of relocation and living expenses for the summer. And again, a reminder, you are responsible for securing your own housing. So if you're not going somewhere where you already have housing, say back home where that might be, then the expectation is that the funding can be used for that. And as with all of our programs, you join a supportive community of service-minded peers. So that was an overview of both programs. I think it did highlight the differences too. Next, though, I'm going to talk about the applications for both. There are 2 separate applications, and in any given cycle, you are only able to participate in one or the other program. So I encourage you to think carefully about what it is you're trying to do. If you're looking to be outside of California working in government, if you're looking to be in Sacramento, think about what you want to get out of this experience. And also think about where you're at with your experience level. In all of our programs, we don't necessarily assume that you have previous internship experience. If you are really looking for a lot of support on that journey to land your internship, Cal-in-Sac is really going to provide that for you, whereas Schaeffer is, again, more self-directed. So think about that. And I'm going to tell you more about the application process. So first of all, where can I find the application? Very important. Both are found on our website, which is igs.berkeley.edu. And if you poke around on the website, you will find it, but you can also follow this /Matsui Center /fellowships. For each of our programs, there will be on the sidebar a tab that says how to apply. Like so. And then this big pink box is the link to apply. So I just want to make sure that you know exactly where to go to apply. The application timeline, applications are open now. They opened in August. The deadline is coming up. It is Sunday, October 8th at 11:59 p.m. for both applications. So whether you're applying to Schaeffer or Cal-in-Sac, that is the deadline. We will review applications in mid-October and invite selected candidates to interview in late October or early November of this year. The Zoom interviews are pretty short. First of all, they're all virtual. They're on Zoom. They're about 10 minutes long. And there's 5 questions usually per interview. So it's a lot. We want to get to know you in 10 minutes, which is hard. And we wish we would have more time. But that's what we do, 10 minutes. And so it's also on the flip side, it's not that it's 10 minutes. Decisions will be sent out in November. Some applicants will be waitlisted, and every year we do usually have people come off the waitlist. There is a commitment form due in late November. The commitment form outlines, here's what I'm committing to by deciding to take a spot in this program. And we take it very seriously because there are so many qualified applicants, and we wish every single student could come be a part of our programs, and that's just not always possible. So if you are committing to a spot in the program, we ask you to take that seriously and really make sure you understand what the program will require. And then in December, we have welcome orientations during our week for both programs, and we give you just, now you're in the program, what questions do you have? How do I make sure that I'm ready for the spring? And in the case of Cal-in-Sac, you're automatically enrolled in the course PS110B. I should have mentioned, in case you already know what your spring is going to look like, that PS110B meets Tuesdays 4 to 6 and Fridays 11 to noon right here in this room. So feel free to make a note of that. It's also on our website. Both applications ask for the following. So brief questionnaire, we ask you name, major, year, etc. We ask for ideas about your internship placement. Where do you think you would like to work? You're not beholden to what you say. So it's not like you say that in your application, you have to do that. It's just for us to get in that sense of what are you thinking about? What are you interested in? There are 2 essay questions. You each submit a current resume. And if you don't have one, I include in the application some resources about how to start building your resume, and unofficial transcripts from all higher education institutions, including community college if you're a student. The Cal-in-Sac application includes a few more things. One, the research topic proposal. I'm going to give you an example of this in a second. That's specific to Cal-in-Sac, as well as I mentioned earlier, the optional supplemental essay, or if you want to apply to one of those 4 research fellowships. So, when I talk about internship offices in the application, the question is provide the name of offices / organizations where you might like to intern. In the case of Cal-in-Sac, a reminder, it must be a public service office, could be an elected official, government agency, social service office, advocacy organization, nonprofit, think tank, etc. Those are the types of things we mean by that, by public service. It must be located in Sacramento. This is, I think, coming out of COVID, that got a little bit confusing. We're back to in-person. So you're going to be in Sacramento in person. Ideally, you have an in-person internship. We really want that to happen as much as possible, or at least hybrid. So we want, therefore, the office to be located in Sacramento, and we want you to be thinking about, when I envision this program, where do I want to be in Sacramento? In the case of the Schaeffer Fellowship, it must be a government office, so not a nonprofit, not a think tank, not anything that's not government. The tip, if their URL does not end in .gov, it is not a government office. Anything that's government will end in .gov. It, again, can be any level of government, anywhere in the country. And then some tips for both applications. I really, really encourage you to not brush by this question and really reflect and do a little research. Again, you're not beholden to this office, and we don't expect you to know exactly what it is you want to do, but it's an opportunity for you to start thinking about it and show us what you're thinking and what you might be interested in. And try to be as specific as possible. So, for example, instead of saying, I want to work in the California state legislature, maybe name the office itself. I want to work in Mia Blanch's office, for example. And if admitted, you're not beholden, this is just to give us a sense of where you're at. Okay, this is a Cal-in-Sac only application. So for the Cal-in-Sac application, this question on the research topic, because that's part of the program. The question is, choose one or more policy areas / topics that you would be interested in exploring through your original research project. Come up with a key question related to your topic. So what you're submitting is that key question. It's just one sentence usually. I'll give you an example. This is also in the application. If you indicated that your policy areas of interest include housing, emergency management and preparedness, and climate / environment, then your research question might be, what environmental policies can help prevent destruction of property due to wildfires? It doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be quite as complex as that. I gave you kind of a complex example, but you can see what I did here is I looked at my interests and I linked them through that question, and it gave me a sense of what might you be interested in exploring in your research project. Then in both applications, there's 2 short essays that are pretty much the same. First one is, please describe your interest in government or public service, depending on the application. What does public service mean to you? How has your background shaped your interest in public service? What experiences, which could be academic courses, jobs, extracurricular or volunteer activities, etc. Or it could be something from an earlier part of your life, from your pre-college experiences, have prepared you to work in public service. So we're trying to get a sense of, why are you interested in this program? What does public service mean to you? And how does this program connect to that? And then the second essay is about looking forward. Describe your future goals. How will this program help you achieve those goals? Be as specific as possible. So we kind of want to know, where are you coming from and where do you see yourself going? That makes sense? Each question is max 250 words. So that was the application. If you are invited to interview, and that's in late October, early November, you'll be invited to a 10-minute Zoom interview. These are some sample questions. I'm not promising these will be the interview questions, but they are a very good indication of the kinds of things we would like to know. I'll let you just read that yourself for a moment. Can everyone see it okay? You know what? For the recording, I'm going to read all that. Questions are, please briefly introduce yourself and tell us why you are interested in this program. What role do you envision public service playing in your future? Why did you choose the offices that you chose in your application? In the case of Cal-in-Sac, why did you choose your research topic? And lastly, do you have any questions for us? What do we look for in applicants? I would say, personally, first and foremost, we look for interest in public service, the passion for public service. Even if you're still figuring out exactly what that means for you, tell us why you want to be in public service and what that means to you. And if we really look for that in applicants. So that's the first thing I would say. Do your research. So again, understand what this program is and what the difference between the two programs is and why this is the program for you and be able to articulate that. Likewise, with the ideas for internship offices, do research, put some thought into that question. I think that will really come through in the application. So that's my advice to you. And as ever, put some, proofread, make sure you've done that last review of your application. As I said before, we're not expecting you to know everything already. We're not expecting you to have lots and lots of internship experience or work experience. That's what we're here to help you access. I just want to know you. And it's really hard to do that, right? When we only have 10 minutes together in an interview. So the more you can be authentic, the more you can be true to your motivations and tell me why you are interested in this program, the better I think your application will read. Okay, that was everything I had to share. Christine, do you have anything to add? Nope. Okay. Before I pass it to the panel, are there any questions specifically about the application process or the application itself? Yes.
Just to clarify, only applying for one program, I think.
Correct. Nothing is technically stopping you from applying both. You can only participate in one or the other. And it kind of connects to the other thing. I want to know why you want to be in this program. So think about, okay, if you choose to apply to both, that maybe muddles that message a little bit. Doesn't mean you can't do it. Doesn't mean we can't have a conversation. Absolutely feel free to set up my office hours. We can talk about the different programs and what might be the best fit. But you could only be in one program per cycle, and we want to know why this program. Yeah. Oh, that is a fantastic question. I don't know the answer, and I don't want to speak out of turn. Are you thinking a foreign embassy here of a foreign nation rather than a I suspect, just from a bureaucratic standpoint, that there could be some complications with paying stipends. But that doesn't mean it's not possible. We would just need to look into it and look into the program requirements. That sound right to you? Okay. Yeah. TBD. Yeah. We'll find out. Feel free to email me with that question to make sure you get the answer. Okay. Other questions? Yes. I won't let that happen. It's as simple as that. Any other questions? Okay, we'll go back first. The question was for the Cal-in-Sac research project, does it have to be original research versus a research question that may already be out there? How would you like to answer that question?
I think yeah.
That's right. I'll just reiterate it for the recording. What we mean by that is that you're collecting original data sources, whether through interviews or other research, as opposed to writing something relying on secondary sources. Okay.
How big is the Cal-in-Sac cohort?
How big is Cal-in-Sac versus Schaeffer cohort? The Cal-in-Sac cohort is 30 students, including our student director, so 29 additional applicants. And the Schaeffer cohort is 10 students from UC Berkeley. Great. Before we get there, there was one other question here. Yeah. Having experience, that's a good question. Having experience will not hurt you. When we look at applications for any of our programs, we're thinking about, are you going to get something from this program, right? So if you have a job in government already somehow, maybe this program isn't going to be that beneficial to you. And I don't want to necessarily give that spot if there's somebody who really benefit from it and you're not really going to benefit. I also don't want to waste your time, right? So that's an extreme example. Like if you are already working in government, you're probably not, going to get much of this program. But that's not the case for most Cal students, right? So it's just something we look at. We look at, are you going to feel good about using your time in this program? And that's the only way I would say that there's a potential that you could be, way overqualified. But by and large, it's something that we, you can have experience, you cannot have experience, and either way is fine. There was a question with that. The research fellowship? Yeah. Christine. Yeah.
In California.
How many applicants do you usually get for the Cal-in-Sac?
Question is, how many applicants do we usually get for Cal-in-Sac? Last year, we got about 65. Yeah.
But how many applicants do you normally get for Schaeffer?
And how many applicants for Schaeffer? Not that many. Not as many as that. I think we got maybe 40. Yeah. If you don't get into the program this year, you are absolutely encouraged to apply next year unless you are no longer eligible. Any other application-related questions?
I guess I just want to double check. So the Schaeffer Fellowship is mostly just the internship and the summit. There is no research qualified class at all.
Correct.
Okay.
There's a mentorship component. There's professional development resources. So there are some other benefits. The Schaeffer Summit is the big one, and absolutely the internship and the funding that comes with it is the crux of it. But there's not a course and there's not a research for Schaeffer. Okay, if there are no more questions about that, I'm going to invite our panelists up to the table. Maybe we can move this mic over to them so that they have that option. And come on up if you're ready. And I'm going to pass the mic to our moderator. For this next portion, they're going to introduce themselves, tell you what program they participated in, where they interned, and any questions that you have for them about their experience, what to expect yourself, please ask. Shuffling. Ezra, should we turn the video on?
Yes. Got it in close.
Okay, let's turn the lights up then.
Oh, you mean this video?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we can turn it on.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. I am Poster Zavala, District Field Representative for State Assembly Member Mia Bonta. My current role right now, I am a 2022 Leonard D. Schaeffer Fellow in Government Service when I was in Berkeley. So last summer, interned for City of Oakland Mayor Libby Schaeffer, who actually now teaches at Goldman School of Public Policy. And so I come here with an alumni perspective, somebody that was a fellow that also participated in the founding class of the camp in DC. While at Berkeley, I am a transfer student. So any transfer students in the house? Woo! Yeah, I was a transfer student. Brief identities and communities that I belong with or belong. I am first generation Central American from El Salvador, where my parents fled a U.S. funded civil war. While at Berkeley, I was a Regents Chancellor Scholar. I was a fellow at the Matsui Center. A fellow at Stiles Hall at the Public Service Center here. A fellow at the Latinx Research Center, where I was part of a research fellowship. I was a George Miller Fellow, another research program. And so just to show that it's like, really, if you want it, you have to seek it out. Nobody's going to hand it over to you. You really have to put in the work and the intention. And so pronouns él, he, him, and just excited to be here and providing perspective during my time in the Schaeffer Fellows, which is very unique versus the Cal-in-Sac, and some of the nuances that come with that. And now my official professional role working for a state assembly member, the first Black Latina elected to the California State Assembly, who represents Oakland, Emerville, and Alameda. And
yeah, I'm just a little student, so my explanation is going to be a bit shorter. I'm a fourth year. My name is Brian. I'm him, history major. I'm also a Schaeffer Fellow. I had the privilege of interning in DC for Congress member Doris Matsui. I'm really excited to be one.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia. I am a fourth year majoring in legal studies, minoring in gender and women's studies, political economy. I was a Schaeffer Fellow last year, as well as a Cal-in-Sac Fellow, as well as a Diversity Entrepreneurship Fellow. I'm an exception to the rule, so you can't do both programs at a time, but I interned at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and the Office of the Chief Officer of Communications. And yeah, I'm now working within IGS as a student assistant. It's been so wonderful. I really do appreciate the community so much. Yeah, I'm excited to tell you guys about my experience.
Hi everyone, my name is Beck. I was the student director last year, and then I also did a program the year before. So the year before, I interned with Lieutenant Governor Milakis, who also graduated from UC Berkeley Pause. And then this summer, I interned with Governor Newsom, and I worked in his healthcare team. That was very exciting. My pronouns are they, them. I identify as queer and part of the trans community. Also, obviously, Asian American. And through these roles, I've been able to help my community a lot and also ones adjacent to it. And so Cal-in-Sac has been like a wonderful way for me to kind of speak out and advocate for my community.
Hi everyone, I will be the moderator, but my name is Ivy Coe, my friend is she, they. I'm a second year, so I did this program when I was a freshman, and I interned at the Federal Defender's Office this past summer. I'm also a first-gen low-income American-born Chinese, so ABC. I'm from Richmond, so not too far from here. Not Richmond, Virginia, Richmond, California. I'm part of NAVCAL as well. I'm a field scholar. I'm part of UP, just pretty much a lot of programs on campus. But I'm so excited to see you all. I see so many familiar faces. But yeah, so if you want to get started, I'm sorry, I was like standing up and hovering, and I realized that was kind of scary. But
Let's take the mic out.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, we also have alumnus right here in the front row. This is Vivian right here, my roommate actually. And then we also have Ethan. So our majors, I'm sorry, I'm intending legal studies with a minor in ethics studies. Sorry about that. But yeah. And
Legal studies and Asian American studies.
yes. Okay. Sorry. So if anyone has any questions, don't be scared. I'm not scary. Yes.
So my question, like for Cal-in-Sac, like how do you feel about to search like where you would like to
Okay, so the first year I looked at the spreadsheet. You can see the spreadsheet and they kind of give you guidance. And then I did more research on the individual organizations because you don't want to like blindly apply to everything. You kind of want to know what your interest is, what you're trying to get out of your internship. And so I was able to choose, 3, and then I applied to the 3, able to get into all of them, and decided to do the lieutenant governor. For the second year, because I already had experience as a fellow previously, I kind of just like looked at the spreadsheet, but I wanted something different. So I ended up applying to the governor's office kind of on my own, but with the guidance of Christine and Megan. So sometimes when you look at a spreadsheet, or just, the options, you don't want to necessarily choose one of those. The program directors are very understanding, and they will talk with you and ask, like, what do you want out of this? How can we help you? Who can we connect you with? And so I say it's flexible. You just have to put in a bit of initiative yourself.
Questions? Yes.
So what's that like experience going into it, and how do you think that helps you forward your goals?
Just to clarify, is that for Cal-in-Sac or Schaeffer?
Cal-in-Sac.
Cal-in-Sac. Okay. Yeah.
So my internship was actually my first ever real internship. So it was pretty great to be able to be accepted into the program. I had a lot of experiences developing my passions. So I'm very passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is something that I had a lot of experience with within on-campus organizations and things like that. I also had a lot of experience doing legal interpreting. So I did that in immigration law, as well as at the Berkeley Law Name and Gender Change Workshop. So having those experiences and being able to speak about them and why they inspired me to go into public service. The way that I kind of framed it was, I have all these experiences, seeing the application of the law and how that impacts people's lives. And because of that, I want to be able to be part of shaping it. And also, bringing in the diversity and inclusion aspect and just how I have seen the way that marginalized communities, bringing that passion in and displaying that within the interviews as well as within the written application really helped me. And I was actually on the wait list for Cal-in-Sac. So if you're on the wait list, you can apply and it'll happen for you.
Yeah, also for me, I was on the wait list. So don't be scared to get waitlisted. I know you'll probably harden yourself. It's okay. But I was also waitlisted. I think I was pretty intimidated. I was honestly surprised that I even got on the wait list. So, but in terms of Sacramento, I really loved it. Fortunately, I was able to have my car, and so I was able to travel. And so I think Sacramento was super, super fun. You get to meet a lot of people. We were bonding a lot. So I will also be moving to Sacramento with y'all, obviously. I also host social events. So we use funds in order to get together. We had pool parties. There's also a gym where we were staying at, but I'm not gonna get y'all too excited because we might not live there, but I think we will. Probably gonna be there. Okay. Does anyone live in Blackville? Does anyone know the conditions of Blackville? The apartments are nicer than that. I will say that. Y'all can attest for that, right? Okay. Yeah. Very, very nice. So we were going to the gym together. We were going to the pool together. We played volleyball together. A lot of fun activities, I promise. Where? Any other questions? Are there questions for Schaeffer? I want to make sure that I answered. Yes.
For Schaeffer Fellows, how do you navigate mixing your interests and passion with finding an elected response? Yeah, thank you for that question. In my case specifically, I'm from Sacramento, specifically from South Sacramento. So I had kind of an inkling that I would probably want to intern for Matsui just because growing up in the district, you're kind of forced to reckon with the issues that plague the community. I honestly believe that if I didn't intern for Congressman women at the federal level, I'd probably go at the district office, or have probably sought out something at the state level because in my case, it really was just kind of being acutely aware that I was interested in local politics. Just happened to chance that the center's named after the congressman. It made sense. The congresswoman did end up kind of coinciding with a variety of issues that I matter to the community. While I was there, we tried to make an effort to reach out to people who are Spanish speaking, and hopefully that was a way to see that at least. So in my case, it was definitely like being aware that I was interested in both politics. Ironically.
I want to also note that for the Schaeffer Fellowship, it's not just an elected office. It can also be a department or a program that's local, state, or federal. So kind of just want to like expand your opportunities and the demographics you're looking for. So before, it's so ironic that today's like so moment. I had a meeting today in the mayor's conference meeting. And you know, I into the mayor's office. But before I entered the local city, I was entering for Speaker of the State Assembly before I got to that role. But when I was in that role, I was like, where is the community? Or are my values being affirmed in the work that I'm doing? Because it's one thing if you're trying to resume build, but that only takes you to a certain extent in the work that you're trying to do after you intern and after you're looking for a role. And so for me, it was sort of like, okay, you know, going back to your fundamentals, to the communities and being intentional about where you want to see the impact. And right now, my work, district office, and having already experienced in the California State Assembly, was sort of the best of both worlds, right? Communicating, being a liaison between the policies of Sacramento and the government and the governance office, and communicating that to the community, especially historically marginalized communities like East and West Oakland, BIPOC, Indigenous. And I was just looking at my, Schaeffer application, and I'm affirming those values that I wrote in my application every single day. It's difficult work, but it's awesome thing, and it's really good work. So really just seeing what is your long-term, place that you want to be in, and what is the path that's going to get you there, right? Because if you're just doing it for name recognition, which a lot of folks say in Harvard are doing it because they have very well connections, that's okay, but really having a realist understanding. And I want to uplift, of course, Matsui, just because, the center of the space is really uplifting, BIPOC students. So just honestly, it's really good work.
I want to reemphasize that you don't have to be in an elected official's office. I was at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, which I never dreamed of interning at. I kind of fell into an internship there. But within my position, I was able to affirm my values just by the fact that I was one of the only Latinas there. And I was able to bring to light, just by nature of my perspectives, my experiences, things that were never on their radar. And I was able to choose my own projects. So I worked on helping diversify the world of patents and entrepreneurship. And I was able to kind of infuse my values and perspectives into a place where I didn't necessarily see them reflected already. So just wanted to put that out there as
well. Any other questions? It doesn't have to be both person. Yes.
For the Cal-in-Sac Fellows, what was your reason to go about?
Okay. So mine was separate from the work that I did. Mine was generational differences in Asian communities regarding traditional versus Western healthcare or medicine, the usage of it. So during the spring semester, we not only have the lecture course, which is the long class, but we also have the discussion, right, the lab, where we actually develop our research topic. So I have no experience in research at the college level. I had no research. I had no idea. All I would use is Google and Wikipedia. So, it's definitely a learning curve. But basically what we did was we just started, brainstorming what questions you're interested in. That was kind of I want to go into healthcare. And so I thought that was really interesting. We determine whether or not we want it to be through interviews, or we look at data, or qualitative or quantitative data. We differentiate them, and then we look at it, and by the end of that class, or by the end of that discussion lab, we basically have a roadmap where week 1 of our internship, right? Because we have to do this, we have to conduct this research over the 8 weeks. We say week 1, these are our goals. Week 2, these are our goals. Luckily for me, it was kind of easy just because I already had connections that I knew I could interview. But that's really up to you, just depending on what you're interested in. We can definitely talk more about it because there's a lot of alumni who did research, but that was part of D&E, so that was like the special research thing. Let's talk about it. Okay.
So I was part of D&E for 2 years. First year I did it as a little bit different. It was not team-based. So the first year, I worked on interviewing folks in Oakland, Chinatown, business owners specifically, about the impact of the pandemic on them. And I think this was a really nice way for me to understand more of the difficulties my community faced in Oakland, because I'm not from California. So the experience of ABCs, Asian Americans in other states is very different than here. And so I was surprised to find one of the things I found out about their relationship with the police, and also how they were protecting themselves. And so I did the approach of qualitative research. As Irene said, you can do qualitative, quantitative, or whatever. That's just what I was comfortable with. But the second year, which is this last recent one, I worked with Sophia and Vivian and Ethan. We are in the audience. We worked in a team of 10 folks, I believe, to research the access to growth and innovation, like the barriers that small business entrepreneurs face and whatnot. And this was a nice experience just because we were all trying to publish like one major research thing, but we all worked in our separate parts of the whole. And because we're a team from different backgrounds and different experiences, we were able to bring something to the table that I think no one could individually. And so I worked with Ethan in the same like sub-team in D&E, and we are publishing it very soon. If you're interested, we are presenting October 6th at a research symposium, what we have found out. So, yeah.
I can also speak on that experience a little bit. So we, as a group, conducted a literature review. We created an interview guide, and then we interviewed, I believe it was 30 women of color on the group. Yeah. 31. I did 4. So it was honestly a really amazing experience. I didn't really have as much exposure in terms of entrepreneurship and the business world. That was something that I'd never really explored, but I was really passionate about diversity and uplifting women of color specifically. And yeah, it also paired perfectly with my internship and what they were trying to do. So I was able to bring in my knowledge from D&E into U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and provide my perspectives there. But it was a really amazing experience. I had a very vested interest in making sure that the stories of these women were heard, making sure that we were able to properly represent their stories. And I'm really excited to present the research. It was a really great opportunity. I never saw myself doing research previously, but it was a really, really great experience. Huge thanks to Christine for structuring it all and walking us through it. But yeah, it was a really great experience.
And also, sorry, for the research, I decided to do the research policy brief, which is just one page summarizing like what you did and then also what can actually, like what the data you found and then also what is the solution to the issue that you found. But I believe you can make it like a podcast or a video or something, some sort of presentation that you conducted this research. But I just decided one page is good enough. You know.
We don't want you to do research that's going to be like a research paper that just sits on the shelf. We want you to do research that you can then translate and share with audiences so that they can have impact. And so instead of asking for a research paper at the end of this, what we ask for is an op-ed based on your research that could be published in a newspaper, or you can do a podcast or a blog or a policy brief. We train you in how to do a policy brief because that's a typical form of writing that you will see a lot in state government. And so we gave people the option of what they wanted to do. For the Diversity and Entrepreneurship Project, we decided one massive research brief, which isn't that brief. It's like 14 pages long, but we tried to keep it brief. And that we're publishing and, again, we're presenting on, but, and we'll be disseminating widely. But it did have 10 authors, so it's not to be that long. Vivian, and do you want to share anything about your research?
I think what's like really unique about this particular fellowship, and the reason why I chose it was because it was team-based, and I prefer working with the team, and I love working with everybody. It's a lot of fun stuff. We did get to present it, and we partnered with NASDAQ and so small business. And we did present to the at Penn State University, where they did a lot of cool work with doing more, I guess, the computer can say. One of the individuals at Penn State, I think he has a doctorate in statistics, and he did the like machine learning on our like transcripts of our interviews, and it was just really cool to like come back and forth together. What we found and what they found, and then pulling together that.
Yeah, and just to add that our research was really like telling the stories and lives of a lot of people who unfortunately don't have a conventional voice in our government, and really some of these corporations as well. So just talking to them, interviewing them, hearing their struggles, their stories. Sometimes it can be relatable to your parents, people you know in your community, and it's a really uplifting experience for people who just want to actually make a difference on all levels of the government, or in terms of reforming company practices. So yeah, I definitely encourage it.
Thank you so much. I will be back in a moment. Are there questions about the Schaeffer Fellowship? I want to make sure that everyone's getting information about that program as well.
I just want to ask the specific experience of finding housing, especially in UC.
Yeah, no, definitely. That was a struggle. It was one of the major hurdles that I had in the spring. I luckily had help from Christine, from Megan, and then also from people that they put me in contact with. I ended up finding housing through Georgetown University. They recently built housing just a year or two ago, about like a 20-minute walk from the campus. So I was able to get housing there. It was really nice. It fit within my price range. It had a gym. I felt like it accommodated my room. All I could ask for. Other people weren't so lucky. My colleagues at the house, most of the time, were sharing a room. I don't know. I just happened to have lived in, I guess, 55-inch.
I have one. Any other questions?
For the Schaeffer Fellowship, how hard is it to find an internship that meets the specification requirements of the
Do that. So it's 30 to 40 hours a week for the duration, and your due date to submit that, at least when I was, is letting them know April, early May to the actual Schaeffer folks, like their administration, because it is like a separate entity to meet like their requirements and their guidelines. And so really it's just a conversation that you have with your supervisor if you accept an internship offer of just like, hey, obviously if you're applying and there's a letter, you tell them that this is and I have onboarded interns already this summer, and we know that especially during the summer, folks, they have the support of the community of the program. You just communicate that to them, And actually, this fall, I want to shout out Catherine. She was at Cal-in-Sac. She's actually one of my interns for this fall. But really, it's just a communication. Figure it out. And I will say one of the, I want to say freedoms of the Schaeffer Fellowship that Cal-in-Sac maybe doesn't have is that actually, when my summer internship, I extended it up to the fall. With the open. So if you have a relationship with your, internship during the summer with Schaeffer, and you transition it into, the fall remotely, hybrid in person, depending on where, you're located. It's here in New Berkeley. Schaeffer's not going to look down on it, but they only do one for that duration. But if you want to extend that because you are having a good time and you want, extra duration, it's already open to extend that. So I ended up doing it until December.
It's kind of related to what we spoke on. One of the privileges of the Schaeffer program was just the possibility of return to employment. At least for me, I had a really good relationship with my supervisor in the house, and he asked me if I was willing to return the following year. Because of personal circumstances, I wasn't able to take him up on his offer, but I think that just kind of represents the opportunities that you can be faced with. When you're out there and you go above and beyond your supervisors and just present yourself.
So in terms of how I got my internship, I actually applied to another program called Partnerships in Public Service. So I would definitely recommend looking into that if you're interested in a federal government agency. It was a pretty simple process for me, but you know, working the amount of hours, working the 10 weeks, it was all a matter of just communicating. My supervisor was really open to accommodating me, especially because I was also doing Cal-in-Sac. I had to take Fridays off to do my research. So I just extended the amount of weeks that I was there and communicated with them so that I could have those Fridays off. So I would definitely say communication. And yeah.
Wait, what was the question?
I think it was a Schaeffer.
Oh, never mind.
I'm gonna ask a question to the panel because we are at the end of our time. I think some of them, not all of them, some of them might be able to stay around a little bit after if you want to come up and ask one-on-one questions. I will also be here, as will my colleagues. So if you have more questions that you can get answered, please feel free to hang around a little bit. We have 3 minutes left, so in 20 to 30 seconds, what is one piece of advice that you would give to the folks in the room who are thinking about applying one of these programs or who are interested in public service, just in general about, any one piece of advice you give?
Number one. Okay, really quick. Number one, if it's a 250 word max, this is what I learned from my AP Lang teacher. Read back your, whatever your answer is and just read it out loud to yourself and see what filler words that you accidentally put in that you don't need. For example, I really like something, right? You can just say, I like blah, 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 right? Number one. Number two, don't be afraid to talk about your identity. Talk about where you're coming from. You know, we can get a further understanding of you. It doesn't have to be professional. You don't have to have, a field or experience in the field that you want to pursue. Number three, don't give too much context about something unless it's really, really important. Just thesis, right? Just give a statement and then move on, right? Show, not tell. Don't say, I communicate with colleagues. How did you do that? Show that. That's what I would definitely look for.
Mine is more after you get into the program, take a risk. I know a lot of us applying are coming from backgrounds where we don't see ourselves represented in those positions we're applying to. That doesn't mean you can't do it. You can be the first one, be the trailblazer, just do it. So if you see one, you're like, I'm not sure if I did. Love that. Just apply.
I want to also emphasize, don't discount yourself. I know programs like this can be really intimidating. It can be really scary. Berkeley can be a very exclusive place, and you can hear a lot of no's. However, I think that if you really reflect on your passions and what you have to offer, that you can put something out there that, Megan and Christine and everybody, they'll see that and they will acknowledge it. Put yourself out there. Yeah.
Yeah, and giving possibly the most cliche piece of advice, stay true to your values and don't fake the application. Really focus on what you're passionate about. Otherwise, you might end up in an internship that you don't like, that is unhappy. And a part of the fellowship is also enjoying yourself, pursuing public service in a way that's way helpful.
Great question. I think proofread your resume, your LinkedIn, cover letter, your answers, and I think lastly, I just had it, but I just forgot it right now. The last question I had was the last tip. Yeah, those was
Maybe think about what's on your Instagram and things. Not for us, but when you're applying to internships, something to be aware of.
Just go private.
Yeah, just curious. All right, I want to give a very warm round of applause for our panel. Thank you so much. There's nothing like your feedback, and so I do encourage you to, make those connections if you want to, and just I'm so grateful. I could not have done this without you. Thank you. We have some snacks. Please eat them, and I hope to see your applications very soon. Take care. Good night.